Hi everybody, it's Mark here. First of all, apologies for you having to stare at this unsightly black eye. It happened at my annual Canadian Thanksgiving family dinner. You know, the usual brawl. No, actually I just tripped and fell over a sidewalk curb. Anyway, that's not why I'm on here. I'm on here to, yes, I've done it again. I said I wouldn't. But I got another new tarot deck. Of course, it is Thoth adjacent, at the very least. It is called the Zillich. Comes in one of these nice metal cans. And I really like the deck. It keeps all the stuff that I really like about the Thoth, but adds a little of its own flavor and a nod to the RWS throughout. So it's a bit of a mashup between Thoth and RWS, and that might make it a great deck for someone who's thinking of working with Thoth but isn't quite ready for some of the abstract imagery within that deck. So, of course, I love me some court cards, and it was important that the court cards in this deck were the Thoth breakout, which is Prince, Princess, Knight, and Queen. And sure enough, that's what we've got going on here. And very similar in imagery as well. And I should say the Thoth that I'm using here is the middle or regular size Thoth. So there's a much larger one and then there's a smaller one. And this just comes in a tin, so it is small, but you can see that the actual imagery is not that far off in size from the regular Thoth. I think it's because the borders have been taken down, except for at the bottom, and makes them more comparable in size. You can see that the colors are stuck to in these two versions. So I like that, and the same kind of energy is going on in the cards. I really like this version of the Prince of Cups. He really is fascinated by that snake. He's up in the air because, of course, he's heir of water. And he's got the eagle at his back. Here's how it is in the Thoth. And he's still entranced by the snake and the cup. But he's really entranced, and it's a much larger snake, and it's just a more comical and inviting image. You'll also notice one of the sort of interpretations of this card, he has the lotus. It is down as opposed to being held up. And here it's not even in hand anymore, it is submerging into the water below. So we get the same idea that this guy might be after more sex than love, and then on his way. So here we have the Knight of Discs in both decks. Very agricultural. Here he's sort of holding a sun globe of sorts, and here he's kind of reflecting the sun off of his shield. But, you know, basically the same idea. We have a beautiful Princess of Cups here. She's on the tin cover, and here she is in the Thoth. Again, the coloration is fairly close. We've got swans, and lotus, and some of the similar images. I always think of this card as she's like the fashionista, so we see the kind of colorful garment that she's wearing, same as here. So a nice connection between the two cards. So I'm not going to go through all of the courts, but that was just to give you an idea that the courts are similar. Now when we get to the minors, I think this is where you will really see the difference and perhaps prefer the difference in the Zillich. So here we have the Four of Cups in Thoth, and it's luxury. And, you know, it's the rich people's problems card. You know, what are you whining about? You got it pretty good, even if it doesn't last forever. So what the artist has done is actually put a figure on the card. And what's interesting is she is relaxing in that pink flower that we see at the top of this card. So there's still a nod to the Thoth. But what I like is now you may have a person, an image in a certain body position that you can identify with, that can then give you some intuitive hits. She's holding some grapes, some birds. It's a watercolor deck, so some of the imagery she's really made faint, and some stuff I'm still seeing in the cards that I didn't see the first time around. So these birds, she has enough that she could even offer this to these birds. Says, you know, what the hell, I got more grapes, no problem. But the stem is starting to darken, and she might be in for a fall if she remains so complacent. It's like the equal of the darkening skies up here, I would assume. But I like that we still have the keyword. And as I say, I do like telling a story with cards. And as much as I love the Thoth, when you get a bunch of minors, you don't have directionality where figures are looking or going in a certain direction so that you can build on the cards. Thoth minors tend to just stand alone, which gives them a great deal of power as well. It's not diluted, it's what it is. But I do sometimes feel like I like to tell a little story. So just to give you some more examples and comparisons of, here's Strife, the Five of Wands. And here we've got a winged creature very much weighed down in the mud. The wings are turning brown. She's really having to put some effort into getting out of that mud, which is how I see the Strife card, because I often refer to it as the Strive card. Interestingly enough, this card is the only card that came with a little spot on the back. And that annoyed me because, you know, I put the cards down, I look at the backs, I don't want to know what the cards are before I reveal them. And so this card has literally become Strife for me. Anyway, I had to move past that. Here's Strength card. So there's a lot of sun-moon interplay with this card, Strength. And here, this is really beautiful. She's sort of this figure. You can see this woman sort of bent backwards, reaching in the background, trying to bring in or emit this sun energy, even though under this sort of light of the moon. So again, a little more to work with than just the moon darkness pushing into the sun energy here. I like the Three of Cups abundance card, because in this version we actually see a figure in the background. I don't know if you can even see it, but there is one person. So we get all the flowers and all, you know, that stuff happening, but we have a person touching the cheek of another person in a sort of a mode of comforting them. I don't know if you can see it. When you look at it, there's the hand here, here's the other cheek, and here's the person's face sort of looking down at them. So you get a feeling of that compassion and friendship and help in the card when you see that little bit of action that's human. This card was just like with that pink flower in the Four of Cups. Sometimes the artist does make a very direct nod to the Thoth, and sometimes she just goes off it altogether. So here we see the castle. We're looking down on the castle, and there's the drawbridge. And here she's just sort of humanized it with this drawbridge going through here into this fortress. Here's our Five of Discs, the Worry Machine card. Here's somebody with an actual boulder on their head. Looks like it may be raining as well. And definite directionality if you want to maybe look for a way out of this situation. And here's one that is a nice, I won't say improvement. Thoth is perfection. But, you know, here's our 10 of Wands, oppression. And here you get more of that idea. Someone in the dark here, in the shadows, gone from light to shadow. And just trying to navigate that. She may be pulling herself out of this. She may be walking into it. That's for the reader to decide. Here's our 3 of Swords. And here we've got something more going on, something a little interesting. We see some wilted flowers, so that does give a nod to this. This is a woman walking. Her back is towards us. And we have these sort of demons, either as patterns on her garb or literally attaching themselves to her. She's in this fog of, let's say, depression or sadness. But she is moving towards this very, very faint city or abode or something in the background. So again, there's a little more imagination going on in the card. Now with the majors, I'll only show you a couple of them. She really leaned into the RWS with their Fool and the Cliff and the Bag and the whole thing. And here's our Thoth Fool. Same energy, of course, but not the same actions on the card. I've never really liked this version of the Magus. There are lucky enough to have one of the Thoth decks that has 3 Maguses to choose from, and I actually prefer the other 2 that were rejected by Crowley. He decided he wanted this one. I can understand it because it's ruled by Mercury, as we see on the card, and this is literally Mercury here. But here we have our good old RWS in his red and white and all the suits in front of him and doing his magic. And that's a little more accessible, I think, for most people. I should say the artist is German and the person who wrote the book, the translation is German. So with this card, I don't know if there was a mistake in the translation or if they just decided they preferred this word. But if you look at this card, I'll just cover this up. Of course, you would think it's judgment. Somebody coming back to life, the trumpet blowing. Of course, in Thoth, it's been renamed the Aeon. So there's very little between the 2 cards that I can really make a comparison of. This is Crowley sort of putting his Thelema philosophy into this card. I mean, there's still things coming to life down here, bodies coming to life and all of that. But the thing about this card is they've named it Justice, not Judgment. And I know people that first start in tarot often get the 2 words mixed up and the cards mixed up. So that might just be a mistake, or maybe she feels that justice and judgment are kind of the same thing. Because in the deck, she does stick to adjustment as a title for what she considers to be the justice and or adjustment card. So it can get a little confusing, but I think when you see the imagery, you know, if these 2 landed next to each other, you would know which was which and there would be no problem. The other nice thing about this deck, I'm not going to show you, any more cards. They're all quite beautiful in that watercolor vibe. And without the borders, they sort of move into each other quite well. But the book is pretty good. The little white book, because of the sort of faded or watercolor, you're not sure what you're looking at until you really take a good look kind of imagery on the cards. They very nicely described each card and what is happening on the card and what is depicted. So that's a big help. The one mistake, again, another translation mistake, is in the Fool. They've given it the water element, and as everyone knows, the Fool is the air element. Okay, that's it for now. I swore I wouldn't buy any more decks, but I've actually got another one I can show you next time. all again Golden Dawn or Thoth based or adjacent. Okay, bye for now. Take care.